Idah Mbengo is a small-scale farmer from Zimbabwe who came face to face with climate change on her own farm. Today she's doing a PhD in environmental science to explore how we can support small-scale farmers successfully adopt techniques to mitigate climate change in Africa. She has encountered a few obstacles to that goal and talks about it here today.
I am Idah Mbengo. I'm a PhD student at Rhodes University, Environmental Science Department. I'm studying on small-scale farmers' adaptation to climate change innovations that are introduced to them. And I am a Canon Collins scholar.
Hi Idah, it's so great to have you here. Perhaps we can begin the conversation by asking what connects you, Idah, to the subject of your PhD.
We have a small-scale farm in Zimbabwe. My shock in terms of climate change and drought concerned my family, where we had worked hard. My husband, my sons planted our beautiful maize crop, went to Harare for a week's break, only to come back to a field that had been ravished within a week by drought. And the maize crop had literally turned to brown. We could have crashed the car as we looked at the sad state, because what it meant was all our effort, all our harvest for that year had been destroyed within a week. So that was my at the personal level, experiencing hunger introduced by drought. During that time, I was also involved in voluntary developmental work with small-scale farmers in Mashonaland East, where we are assisting them to develop techniques to produce their vegetables, their maize, in a more environmentally organic, friendly way. So those two formed my basis for interest in climate change adaptation, because I then understood that the climate change disaster is upon us.
Idah, tell us about your PhD and what some of your findings have been.
I've just started to collect my data. We have a period of 30 to 40 years where climate-smart agriculture has been introduced in Southern Africa, South Africa included. And small-scale farmers are not taking up this technology. Where is the problem? What is the reality in as far as these innovations are concerned? So in my study area, it's a mixed farmers community. They're doing crop production as well as livestock production. So I'm looking at both innovations and how the small-scale farmers are taking it up. One of the interesting findings is associated with livestock ranging, where under climate change adaptation, the project has been introducing resting their grazing land and rotational caps. And what we've realized on the little analysis that I've done is that we are having a clash of worldviews. Our worldview as Western trained, as environmentalists, is that we use timescales, seasons. December, rain starts, and this is when we should start resting the camps. Grass has an opportunity to regrow, seeding sets in. But what shocked me is when we went to the field and were saying to the farmers in our discussion forum, in the focused group discussions, you need to rest the camp. They did it last year, and this is going to be their second year. You must start in December because that's when the rain starts and that's when grass grows. Then they said, no ways, December is busy. And we're saying, why is December is busy? For them, it's a holiday. This is the time to drink. This is the time for initiation. You go up to the mountains to initiate boys, and they resisted. From the expert point of view, from the government point of view, the agricultural department was saying resting should start at the beginning of the rain season. The community is saying no ways. It doesn't matter how much we tried to persuade them, they resisted them. And sure enough, they didn't rest in December. December was party time. Come January, they said probably we'll start resting in January, but still they did not rest. So we make assumptions that when we introduce a certain technology, the small-scale farmers take it up and we go in, we measure success of impact, but reality on the ground is farmers have got a different conceptualization of some of these innovations, and it's those things that we need to understand. Let's contextualize the farmer's background. Let's contextualize the conditioning from which they are coming from before we introduce these innovations. What is happening in my area of study is they've got degraded rangelands. They are degraded on two aspects. The grass is poor. They do not have nutritious grass because of overgrazing. A second challenge is actually gulling. They've got an eroded environment. So there is scientific evidence that you rest a particular area, which means you are keeping away livestock from that area for a certain period, let's say 4 months, 6 months, then the grass has got an opportunity to regrow, to reseed. Then during that time, you must make sure that you drive away all straying animals. And in this case, we've actually employed eco-rangers whose specific duty is to drive away straying animals. So that's resting. The other issue that we've been addressing is associated with crop adaptation, and the project has focused on vegetable gardening. But because this is an area where apartheid laws led to very tiny spatial homesteads, the gardens are so small. So though the farmers have adapted to some of the principles such as rotational graze, such as intercropping, mulching, and so on, the impact on erosion is limited. Probably what the project should have focused on is on the cereal production, which is done on larger areas and often on crop fields or on fodder crops. This is where conservation agriculture or climate smart agriculture should have been introduced. Then added to that, there is actually a major problem in terms of youth. The concept of adaptation is being introduced on the assumption that the youth are also lovers of crop production and livestock production. And in this particular study area, the youths have said they are not interested in any project which does not involve payment. What they want are projects that involve cash payment. They are not prepared to work for 4 months for seeds to grow, sell them, and then earn money. They are not prepared to go into livestock production because that again takes too much time as far as they are concerned. So we have a very elderly population which is participating, which is interested, but they are not the future. We are interested in engaging the youth in the future, how to manage climate aspects.